Hi friends, in this session we are going to discuss about file system. If anybody missed the previous file system part 1 video, first watch that video, then come to this video. So in this session we are going to cover the contents, file access methods, file allocation methods. So there are 3 file access methods and 3 file allocation methods available. First we will see file access methods. In file access methods, the first one is the sequential access or sequential access method. So sequential access in the sense continuous, one by one after another. Okay. First we need to discuss about file accessing. So accessing a file is the job of operating system. When user requests to open a file or read a file or write something on the file, then the operating system gets the location of the file, and based on the pointer value it goes to the particular location, and one read pointer is updated for every read and one write pointer is updated for every write. This is the actual thing happening. While accessing this file content, whether the file is accessing in a serial manner or a dynamic manner, that depends on the method. So here sequential access in the sense we are accessing the operating system, accessing the file in a sequence. So here this is a hard disk. You know, every hard disk is divided into different sectors, tracks, etc. Okay, and you generate a file. That file occupies some 4 blocks of memory. Let us say this is a file. This file occupies 4 blocks and each block is of 512 bytes. If operating system accesses this file, so it has to access the first block, that is 10th, then 15th block, then 11th block, then 30th block. If file accessing happening in this manner, this is called sequential access. That means if the file or operating system accesses the 30th block, it has to be start from 10th block and go through the next 15th and 11th blocks. It cannot directly jump to the 30th block or 11th block. If any block it needs to access, it should follow the starting point and go through the required point. That is called sequential access. Okay. So here in accessing methods, the major operations are read and write. So a read operation reads the next portion of the file and automatically advances a file pointer which tracks the IO location. So for reading the 15th location, the operating system accessed at the 10th location and the read pointer is updated with the next location. If the operating system accesses the 15th location, the read pointer is updated with the next location. In this manner, the file is going to be accessed. Similarly, a write appends to end of the file and advances to end of the newly written material. In sequential access approach, if you want to write something on the file, you can write that content at the end of the file. That means the sequential access approach accepts append operation only. Suppose if you want to write something on this file, you starting from 10th, 15th, 11th and 30th, then generate one more block. There you can write the content. That means only append operation is allowed. At the end of the file only you can add something. Okay. So sequential files are convenient when the storage medium is magnetic tape rather than disk. This is an important point. So generally hard disk is used for dynamic accessing. Of course sequential access is allowed, but if the operating system and the file handlers follow this sequential access, better you go with the magnetic tape rather than the disk. Magnetic tape means it's like your audio cassette. In the earlier days there is a tape recorder and audio cassette is there. In that audio cassette there are some songs. You can store some songs. If you want to go to the 3rd or 4th song, you go through the 1st, 2nd, 3rd. It's a approach is sequential approach. You cannot directly go to the particular song. If you want to go to the particular song, you go through the initial songs. So always magnetic tape allows sequential access. So the file system implements sequential access. Better you can use magnetic tape. Okay. So this diagram also represents the sequential access. So this is the starting point of the file. If you want to move to the file, you go to this way. If you go to the particular location, at that particular location, you go to the end, or you can reverse it back. That means you are now here in the current position. From the current position, if you want to go to the beginning of the file, you cannot jump from this position to this position. Again, you can traverse all the sectors and go to the beginning, or all the blocks and go to the beginning. From this position also, if you want to go to the forward, cover all the blocks and go to the end. This is the representation of sequential access. Next method is direct access. So the direct access tells the meaning itself. You can directly go to the particular block instead of go through all the blocks. If you observe this diagram, direct access versus sequential access. Suppose these are the blocks available in your hard disk. In sequential access, if you want to go to the fourth block, you start from the first block, second, third, and then fourth block. That is the sequential access. But with direct access, you directly go to the fourth block instead of going to first, second, third. Then how you can go to the fourth block directly? See, for direct accesses, the file is viewed as numbered sequence of blocks or records. So here every block is maintained as a record, and you should maintain that information. If you want to go to the fourth block directly, you can go to the fourth block by using that number, or you can go to the second block. If you want to go to the second block directly, you can go to the second block by using that number. So here you can use record numbers. So when compared to the previous method, direct access is the fastest ways to access the record. Okay. The next one is the indexed sequential access method. We call it as ISAM. In indexed sequential access methods, okay, so this is the file information. File means file consists of different attributes. File name, so size of the file, location of the file, and user of the file, information related file. There are so much information was created by the user. You can create one index for taking one attribute value and maintains one index table. Okay, or we call it as index file. On index file, you take one attribute of the file and you store that logical record number, that means pointer to that particular content. Suppose this file consists of the last name Smith John. I am creating index for this field, and this field having the logical record number. By using this record number, it's a pointer. Directly I can go to that particular data content. So in indexed sequential access method, the operating system going to generate one index file. That index file having two attributes, one is last name and another one is logical record number. Here means last name in the sense, this example I am creating index file by using the attribute last name. So meanwhile you can generate any attribute as a main field in the index file, and based on the attribute you are copying the logical record number of that particular content. Okay. See, so this method is developed by slight modification in the direct access method. So indexed sequential access approach is also similar to the direct access. You cannot go through the blocks sequentially. You can directly go to the particular content whatever you want. The index contains pointer to the various blocks or records. To find an entry in the file, we first search the index and find the pointer of the records to access the file. entire directly. This is the case. So here the Adams is the content. If you want to go to the Adams, the corresponding record number is there. You can directly go to that record number. Or if there is any other content based on the particular record number, directly go to that particular record number. It's a very fast accessing method when compared to all the previous one. Next. So here we are going to discuss file allocation methods. So earlier we discussed file accessing methods, that tells how the operating system and file handler access the file content. But here allocation methods. Allocation means how these file handlers and the operating system allocates the file created by the users. Okay, suppose I want to create one notepad file or a C file. Definitely operating system gets the sends the request to the file handler. File handler checks the available space is there in the hard disk or not. If the space is there, then it occupies that particular space, and based on the name given by the user, it generates the file. Okay, how this allocation will happen? So again, there are three methods for the file allocation. First one is the contiguous allocation. Contiguous means at the same place, one after another. If you observe this diagram, this is the hard disk representation. In this hard disk, memory is divided into blocks from 0 to 31. There are 32 blocks available. Okay, and based on the request, suppose one file needs only one block memory. So one block was occupied. Suppose your file having multiple blocks and multiple blocks are occupied, but the occupation of the blocks happening one after another in a sequence manner at the same area. Suppose my file needs 2 blocks. The operating system cannot allocate one block here and one block here. This is not continuous. 2 and 4 now is not continuous. 0 and 1 is continuous. 2 and 3 is continuous. Like 6 and 7 is continuous. 28, 29, 30, 31 is continuous. Not 25, 17, 13. These are not contiguous. Okay. So here the allocation happening contiguously. This is the simplest allocation scheme available. For example, I have a file with 50 kilobytes KB size, and the hard disk having blocks of each 1 kilobyte. So to store this file, 50 consecutive blocks are needed. 50 consecutive blocks. Okay. And if you know the first block plus 1 is the second block. The first block plus 2 is the third block. So like that you can easily identify the next blocks. And here you maintain one directory structure for identifying the content of the file available. So here the directory structure having 3 fields. One is storing the file name, and another one is starting block number, and the next one is length of the file, means how many blocks it occupies. If you observe, here the file name is count file name, starting location is 0. So here the count file starting location is 0. And the length of the file is 2, means it occupies 2 blocks. It is contiguous, means 0 and 1. So these 2 blocks refers the count file content. Like tr is the file name, starting is 14. So tr is the file, starting block is 14, its length is 3. So 14, 15, 16. From 14 to 16, these blocks related to the file tr. Like mail is a file name, its starting location is 19. So mail is a file name, starting location is 19. It occupies 6 blocks from 19 to 24. All these content is related to the mail file. Like that, you can generate a file name. You can store the file name in the directory. You have to write the starting block and mention the length. By using this directory structure, so operating system easily traverses the blocks, because we know the operating system knows the starting block and it knows the length of the blocks it occupies. So easily it access the content available. Okay, so that is about contiguous allocation scheme or method. And the method having its own advantages and disadvantages. Coming to the advantages, so simplest allocation scheme means implementation of this scheme is easily, programmatically you can easily implement this scheme. Okay, so it maintains only the first block and starting block number. File size and starting block number is used to remember the entire file. We know. So starting and length, you can easily identify the file. So since entire file can be read in a single operation, so it gives excellent performance. Suppose the operating system gets this block, then immediately it goes to this block because of this directory structure. So the read IO operations is very less, means operating system can easily access the file. That means it performs well. Okay, one is it is very simple to implement and the performance is well. And the disadvantages, the size of the file up to maximum limit must be known at creation time, means when you are going to create any file using this method, at the time of creation you must know the size of the file. You must know the size of the file. Later you cannot update the size. That means it is not suitable for the dynamic files. It is suitable for the static files. At the time of creation only you know the size, then only you can allocate the blocks for this file, allocate the memory for this file. That is a disadvantage. Some disk space is wasted due to fragmentation. Means, see here, suppose this is a hard disk and these blocks are filled. Some blocks are empty. How many blocks are empty? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 blocks are empty. Suppose I want to create one file which needs 8 blocks. Which needs 8 blocks. Here how many blocks are empty? More than 8. Even though, because we are using contiguous allocation, there is no contiguous 8 blocks available. If you observe here, 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks contiguous, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks contiguous, 1, 2 blocks are contiguous, 3 blocks are contiguous, but not 8 blocks are contiguous. Even the memory is available but not in contiguous manner, you cannot allocate the size for the file. This is called fragmentation. Okay, so that is the problem with this accessing method. Okay, one is you should aware about the size of the file at the time of creation, and another one is fragmentation. Okay, then go to the next method. Next method is linked allocation method or linked allocation scheme. So this method is same as the previous method, but here you are implementing linked list representation for the blocks. See, here also this is one block. This block is divided into two sections. One is for pointer which refers to the another block, and another one is to store the data item. So the block is divided into two segments. One is for storing the address of another block and another one is the file content. If you want to access the 12th block, you start from the 4th block, go to the 7th, go to 2nd, then 10, then finally 12. If it is the last block, the pointer is having null value. That tells this is the end of the block. If you observe file B, here 4 blocks are there. First block B. From this pointer you can go to the second block 3. From this pointer you can go to the third block 11. From this pointer you can go to the fourth block 14. But here we are having null pointer. That means it is the last block. So if you observe the hard disk representation, here all the blocks 0 to 35, there are 36 blocks are available. From third block you can directly go to the 22nd block. From 22nd block you can directly go to the 13th block. So if you know the address of first block, you can directly go to all the sequence of blocks available for this file. And for this allocation method, you maintain one directory structure. It consists of the file name and starting location and ending location also. See, HW1 is the file name. Its starting location is 3. From 3 it goes to 22. From 22 it goes to the 13, because 13 is the end. 13 is having null pointer, so it is the end. So here actually 3 is not, it's a mistake, end is 13. Okay. Here the first word of each block is used as a pointer and next one is used for data. Okay. The directory entry contains a pointer to the first and last blocks. The pointer is initialized to null to indicate an empty file. Null means empty file, means there is no more move. This is the last. The size field is set to 0 for the last. Okay. A write to file. Write means write operation to file causes a free block in then return and link it to the end of the file. If you want to write something, you generate one block and pointing that block from the last block in the previous. Suppose you want to write something on the file A, you generate one block. That block pointed by the last block here 12. This points the last block. There you write something and set the null pointer to that block. Same linked list representation, and you are appending the content to the file. Okay. So for read operation, read blocks by following the pointer from block to block. It is easy. If you know the starting pointer, you can go through the last. This is a traversing, you can read. Okay. And the advantages. So there is no wastage of memory. Every block can be used. So here there is no contiguous blocks are allocated. Blocks are different blocks, but every block has pointer to the next block. So memory is not wasted. There is no external fragmentation, only internal fragmentation is possible. Already we discussed about the fragmentation. Okay. So here there are two terminologies, external fragmentation and internal fragmentation. Now we will see what are the difference between external fragmentation and internal fragmentation. See, this is the external fragmentation. External fragmentation means the operating system allocates memory for the process 0, 6, 2, 5 and 4. So here the yellow color is occupied by the process and this grey color is empty space. Now the task before the operating system is allocate memory for the process 7. So for fitting this process 7, overall the memory is available, but at once this memory is not suitable for storing the process 7. What we discussed in the earlier. This is called external fragmentation. That means for storing process 7, memory is available in this segment, but memory is not available at a single point. This is called external fragmentation. Internal fragmentation. Suppose here memory is divided into 4 blocks. Each block is of capacity 100 KB. First block is occupied by 80 KB. Second is occupied by 90 KB. Okay. So first block is occupied by 80 KB in the sense remaining 20 KB is free. Second block is occupied by 90 KB means 10 KB is free. So here the size of the block is greater than the occupied file content. That is called internal fragmentation. If your file size is less than the available block size, definitely there will be internal fragmentation. If your file size is available but not available at a single point, that is called external fragmentation. Okay. Now by using linked allocation scheme, there is no external fragmentation, only internal fragmentation is possible. Only internal fragmentation is possible in last block only. because so you are dividing the file into different blocks. Maybe sometimes the last block is having the memory size greater than the file content. That is the cause of the internal fragmentation. Okay, and the directory needs only two values, starting value and ending value. So implementation of this directory is very simple. These are the advantages of the linked allocation scheme and disadvantages. So it can be used only for sequential access files and is insufficient to support random access, because it is a linked list representation. You are accessing the files from starting to ending sequentially. It cannot support dynamics. From here you cannot directly jump to 10th location or 12th location. Okay, that is the disadvantage. Space is wasted in storing the pointers. Here, for every block you need some extra space to store the pointers. That is only the disadvantage. One is it cannot support the random access, and another one is space for pointers is more. Okay, these are the disadvantages. And next allocation scheme is called indexed allocation. Indexed allocation. By using indexes, you can allocate the memory, you can access the memory. See, this is the hard disk representation, and these are the blocks available from 0 to 31. For a file name is GIF. The operating system generate one directory, file name and index block. Here the index block number is 19. By using this index block, operating system directly goes to the 19th location. What exactly 19th location is having? 19th location is having the addresses of different blocks, different information. Maybe the block pointer, maybe the content pointer. So in this block you are generating one index. Okay, just like your book index. Your book having different chapters. Every chapter is available to on particular page number. On the particular page number you can directly go, you can get that content. Okay, just like here operating system create one index file on a particular block. It reserved one block, there it generates one index file. Okay, so here each file has its own index block. For every file one index block, which is an array of disk block addresses. So what it contains? Disk block addresses, 9th block, 16th block, 1 block 1, like that. So the directory contains the address of the index block. To read the ith block, we use the pointer in the ith index block entry to find the read and decide block. So to read some 16th block, it goes to a 16th block pointer address, and directly from that pointer it goes to the 16th block. When the file is created, all pointers in the index block are set to nil. When the ith block is first written, a block is obtained from the free space manager and its address is put in the ith indexed block entry. Suppose you are generating the file first time, all these entries are null. If you write something based on that one block was reserved and that address is recorded here. Okay, by using this directory structure having file name and indexed block, by using this indexed block, it contains all the blocks memory addresses. Based on this, you can directly go to that particular block and see what are the advantages for this scheme. The entire block is available for data using this method. So the entire block is available. Random access is much easier. So you can directly go. Suppose you want to go to the 25th block, directly you can go to the 25th. You want to go to the 9th block, directly you can go to the 9th block. There is no sequence access, directly you can go to the required block number. This is called random access. Random access is possible. There is no external fragmentation. Okay, directory entry needs only to keep the starting block number. So in directory entry needs only the starting block number. 19th is the starting block. From 19th you can go to anywhere you want. So these are the advantages. Coming to the disadvantage, the primary disadvantage is that the entire index table must be in memory all the times to make it work. Means if you want to access the zip file, what is the index block? 19. This 19th index block is always available in the primary memory. After completion of the work, then only this index block is removed from the primary memory. That means if you want to do any operation with this file, until the completion of the operation, this memory block should be available in the primary memory. That is only the disadvantage. How it is disadvantage? So one block of memory has to be maintained in the RAM. That is the disadvantage, because RAM size is very less when compared to the secondary storage. So that leads to sometimes decrease the performance. If the block size is more, then it leads to sometimes performance degradation. Okay, so that is about the disadvantage. These are the different file allocation methods. So I hope the guys you understand this concept well. Okay, thank you.